Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. We would really appreciate if you could recommend us to your friends and family, as well as share information on social media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. 295 days less the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, General Valery Zaluzhny, considers one of the main tasks of the army to create reserves and prepare for the new large-scale battles that will take place already next year, reports Interfax Ukraine. In an interview with The Economist, Zaluzhny said that the Russian forces are preparing reserves of about 200,000 and will use them for new offensive. Quote, "It may start not from Donbas but towards Kyiv from Belarus. I do not exclude the southern direction as well," unquote. The general expressed confidence that the enemy will make another effort to take Kyiv. In Zaluzhny's opinion, the enemy's task today is to exhaust the armed forces of Ukraine. He added that Ukraine's second task after accumulating reserves is to hold its positions and not lose any more territory, as it is 10 to 15 times harder to liberate them than not to surrender. The third task, according to the general, is to ensure missile and air defense, especially of the energy objects. He said that the energy system of Ukraine is on the verge now. At the same time, when answering question about the need for new recruits, Zaluzhny noted that he does not need hundreds of thousands of people, but tanks, armored personnel carriers, mechanized infantry fighting vehicles, and ammunition. Quote, "I know I can defeat this enemy, but I need resources. I need 300 tanks, 600 to 700 infantry fighting vehicles, 500 howitzers," unquote. Commander-in-Chief said that Russian troops have adapted to the presence of HIMARS systems in Ukraine and now position their important objects beyond their reach, as Ukraine has not yet received anything with longer range. Zaluzhny informed that 10 generals have been fired from the armed forces of Ukraine and one more committed suicide since the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion, as they were not up for the task. In another article, The Economist speculated that some powers in the office of the President of Ukraine are afraid that Zaluzhny is too popular and would like to replace him with Alexander Syrsky, commander of the ground forces of Ukraine, reports Ukrainska Pravda. According to the media sources, the president's office has banned Zaluzhny from visiting the front line. At the same time, both Zaluzhny and Syrsky say that they are not interested in politics. Valery Zaluzhny also talked with Mark Milik, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States, reports Ukrainska Pravda. Zaluzhny is convinced that Ukraine must and can fight such an enemy as Russia to the bitter end. Zaluzhny also raised the issue of providing the defense forces of Ukraine with weapons, munitions, and military equipment they need to hold the full-scale Russian aggression. Yesterday, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky spoke at a meeting of the EU Council, reports Interfax Ukraine. He expressed belief that the Ukrainian peace formula can be implemented in 6 months. The formula envisaged radiation and nuclear safety, food security, energy security, release of all prisoners and deportees, implementation of the UN Charter and restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity and the world order, withdrawal of Russian troops and cessation of hostilities, justice, immediate protection of the environment from ecocide, preventing escalation, confirmation of the end of the war. Zelensky announced the Global Peace Formula Summit, which Ukraine plans to host in the near future. The president also said that Ukraine needs 2 billion cubic meters of gas and electricity worth 800 million euros to compensate for the damage from Russian strikes on generation facilities. He pointed out that any blackouts in Ukraine are blows to the EU social system due to new waves of migration. Volodymyr Zelensky called on European states to supply modern tanks to Ukraine. He stressed that Ukraine's defense support should not become smaller, as it is important to protect Ukrainian freedom and the very idea of Europe in the global confrontation with Russia. The president asked for more air and missile defense systems, asking each of the 27 countries of the European Union to decide what exactly they can do to help. Quote, "This also applies to modern tanks. There is no rational reason why Ukraine should not get them now," unquote, stressed Zelensky. According to him, the European state that will be the first to provide Ukraine with modern tanks will open the possibility of similar deliveries to the whole world and will be remembered as one of the most important defenders of modern freedom. In addition, Zelensky noted that the supply of long-range artillery and missile systems to Ukraine would help to speed up the end of Russian aggression. The European Parliament recognized the Holodomor of 1932-1933 as an artificially created famine caused by the Soviet authorities that killed millions of people in Ukraine as a genocide of the Ukrainian people, reports Suspilne. In this regard, the European Parliament called on Russia as the primary successor of the Soviet Union to officially recognize the Holodomor and apologize for those crimes. In addition, the European Parliament called on the countries and international organizations which have not yet recognized the Holodomor as a genocide to do so. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky has thanked the European Parliament for this important and fair decision. The leaders of the EU member states reached an agreement on the allocation of 18 billion euros of macrofinancial assistance to Ukraine in 2023, reports European Pravda. In addition, the EU leaders agreed to immediately intensify the provision of humanitarian and civil protection assistance to Ukraine, as well as facilitate the restoration of Ukraine's critical infrastructure to help Ukraine get through this winter. This includes efforts to ensure a stable supply of priority equipment to Ukraine, such as mobile heating points, power generators, power transformers, as well as high voltage and lighting equipment. If you like what we do and would like to tip us, you can now do so directly to our PayPal. Check out the link in the description to this episode for more details. And as usual, you can subscribe to our Patreon. In gratitude for your help, we will give you access to a series of exclusive episodes on wartime life in Ukraine. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.